Blending Bourbon is the podcast that takes you beyond the barrel and behind the scenes of the whiskey industry with master blenders Dixon Dedman and David Mark Young.
What's up, y'all? This is the Blending Bourbon podcast brought to you by Golden Sheaf Bourbon Whiskey. Golden Sheaf Whiskeys, I guess I should say. My name is Dixon Dedman, formerly of Kentucky Owl, now of 2XO Whiskey. My partner in crime, who can't help but having a drink when I introduce him, is David Mark Young of Golden Sheaf Whiskeys. The pride of Omaha. How are you, my friend? You good?
Dixon, I am fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm good. Good.
Thanks for that great intro. Yeah, I can't help but help myself to a recently pulled sample from some rye barrels that we just got into stock.
And I mean, this podcast, Blending Bourbon. We're talking about blending bourbon in a number of different ways, which we'll get into in a second. But I mean, is there a more appropriate way to start this with you in the dadgum bottling facility while you're blending and tasting your samples right before they go into a bottle? I mean,
I can't think of a better way. This is, I'm a kid in a candy shop. We've got barrels lined up. We're pulling samples. We've got, new barrels that came in that we're cataloging. We've got bourbon and rye that we've put in port casks, and so we're trying those out, see how they're progressing throughout their journey. No, this is the place. I mean,
for you, clearly you got your hair done today. You've got whiskey happening. I mean, this is a special day. A special day.
I'm on a podcast with Dixon Dedman.
There you go.
I'm living the dream.
There you go.
Absolutely.
There you go. So, let's do this. I mean, I think we, two things we need to accomplish right out of the gate. Like, one, I'm gonna let me tell people what I know about you. You correct me if I'm wrong here, right? So, David Mark Young, the proud proprietor, blender, mastermind behind a very iconic heritage brand out of Omaha, Nebraska, with a backstory that like Disney couldn't make up. Just amazing history there. Your story is such a great story from growing up, soccer player, Marine. Your service background and hearing those stories, incredible. You went into digital security, and we've talked about this before. I think that means that like when Timmy in the office was looking at too much porn on his computer, you got the viruses off, but you did that for a number of years and were very successful. Somewhere in there, you were bit by the bourbon bug. Your travels, your global travels, you can tell us about all the amazing places you visited and all the amazing, but you were actually not just a bourbon fan, but a whiskey fan, a global whiskey fan. I would say more than fan, more than aficionado. You're almost a historian of the space. And which eventually led you to say, you know what, life is not too short, but I want to get into this thing. And I have an opportunity. And so you invested, you got in with a distillery, you got in with a project, you wanted to kind of get a little more specific with what you wanted to do, a brand that was available to you. And now you are kind of steering the ship for, a brand that is essentially exploding. and doing some very innovative and exciting things, with your products. I pretty much nailed it, right? I mean, that's
drop the mic and walk away. You
okay.
Nailed it on the head. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a good thing we're recording this. I'm going to listen to it every morning when I wake up.
Yeah, right. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, it's it is. It's a dream come true for me. I did an interview earlier this morning with a young gentleman, first year college student, wrestling for Virginia State, and he's doing an entrepreneur project. So I needed somebody to interview that owns their own business, and preferably somebody passionate about. That's what he was looking for. So I gave him the passion, told him where I was going and what I was doing today and why I'm excited, because I'm doing what I love. It's taken me a number of years in life to realize what I enjoy in life, what I want to do. I'm extremely grateful to be in this element. So yeah, I was just a bourbon fan, whiskey fan, like you said, all the things for a long, long time, and was able, fortunately, to turn it into. I walked away from everything else. Walked away from cybersecurity, corporate porno police, whatever you want to label it, and now get to do this. They're handing me samples here as we're talking.
That's not awful.
As they're pulling them direct from the barrel itself. So absolutely, it's fun. But the other thing too, just like everything else, that it's hard work. But I appreciate it that much more because it's something that I'm enjoying. And
yeah, man. It's funny. You talk about it being hard work, and I fell ass backwards into this industry. Grew up a dishwasher, chicken fryer, busboy. Fell in love with bourbon and whatever, and then lo and behold, things happened, and I made I was able to have a good time doing some stuff, and now doing some more stuff. We'll just call it stuff. Yeah. And it's crazy. It's sometimes overwhelming. Today I was just on a call and we're talking about, they bring up a calendar, and that calendar, starting the second week of September through the end of the year, has me on the road every week except for the week of Thanksgiving. And this business and this industry, I mean, it's a friggin' blast, as you can tell from watching you taste multiple samples at 2:00 your time in the afternoon. But right. It's a lot of work, and I think I only go down that road to say that our intention with this podcast is to talk about exactly those things. Is to talk about what it's there's a lot of bourbon podcasts. They are phenomenal podcasts. I've been fortunate enough to be on several, and I listen to many and love the insight you get from some. But one of the things that we talked about that was kind of missing was giving people, at least from our perspective, a peek under the tent, right? Like a little bit of a insider look at what it is truly like. I wouldn't say day to day, but to do this thing, to start a brand, to build a brand, what it takes, what challenges, what you run into, what it's like to do the things that people don't see, to get it out there. And I mean, that's what we, that's blending bourbon. That's what we're talking about, right?
Let me ask you this. So yes, you have been on even recently, some of the more popular podcasts. So why your own podcast?
Well, I do, and I'm not, certainly don't want to act like, I love to hear my own voice. I mean, that's a huge part of it. But I don't know. I mean, I guess there are two reasons I would say why my own podcast. Like, one is, generally speaking, a lot of the times you get on these podcasts, it's a lot of the same. How many cases? Where are you distributing? What makes it different? What, and it's, it's oftentimes there are a handful of them that really get into the nitty gritty. And I like the nitty gritty. Like, I like the nitty gritty when you can talk about where you were at this moment, what you were dealing with in this moment, what you were, what drove you there. I like and for me, like, this industry or what I'm doing is a big part of that. Like, it's a bit, it's emotional. It's, it's different than, okay, we're going to roll out X number of cases of this, and it's X, Y, and Z, and plug it in and plug and play, and let's go. It's so I think that, and from majority of the responses that I've gotten from the podcast where we got into the nitty gritty, like, that's kind of a missing element that people really want to know and hear about, like the personal side of things. Yeah. So I think one answer to that is, like, why my own is because I think that's an interesting story to tell that's not often being told. The second part of that is that, and it goes back to kind of how we connected. We connected. You were looking for maybe a little bit of advice or a little bit of just somebody to talk through some issues, and we, whether I had been in the same place as you had been in before, and we had some great conversations, and I don't know, I actually kind of feel like that those conversations would be interesting to people as well as helpful for people, whether they were in the bourbon space or whether they were in, trying to sell, I don't know, crocheted items. Like, it's just when you're putting yourself out there, when you are putting all of your eggs in a basket, like, it's hard. And so I think people will, I hope that's, we can get to that level with people where they, I don't know, can maybe take something from the challenges that we have and we discuss on this podcast.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And you responded. I did want help. I was, sort of, doggy paddling to survive, to keep to figure out the direction. And, it was very helpful. And I still have those conversations. You're still very helpful, and I very much appreciate that and grateful for that. And there are many others too. That's one thing I've learned about this community. Folks that are doing this, behind the scenes, there's a lot of collaboration. There's a lot of engagement. And as a bourbon fan, for lack of better terms, prior to reviving Golden Sheaf, that's one thing that made it more interesting to me is folks like yourself and Mike Palladini and Steve Nally, people in the industry, well known in the industry, successful, they love to share. It's a great community. Everybody's very helpful. And I think for me, it's being a part of those activities and conversations and realizing, wow, this is stuff that, those true bourbon fans, or at least myself, those are the part of the dialogue that make it more interesting, make a brand or particular expression more desirable. You had mentioned or described me as perhaps being a bit of a historian, and I don't disagree with that. I love the history. That's one thing that really draws me into this. It's interesting. You listen to some of these bourbon books and they talk about embellished backstories and whatnot, but they all start somewhere. Embellished or not, there's a lot of factual stories. Golden Sheaf is all factual. It's history. We're trying to celebrate that history, bring it back. So, well,
that's good for you. My grandfather always said you never let the truth get in the way of a good story, but that's
yeah,
that may be a topic for another episode.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just whether they're 100% true or not, there's a lot of really great stories. I find it interesting that, spirits alone, their contribution to the evolution of our economic system, just our country in and of itself, when you look at like the Whiskey Rebellion, post-Revolutionary War and that sort of thing. So I find that stuff very appealing and interesting. And not that's not necessarily what folks that are creating brands behind the scenes are talking about, but
no, as much as you would like to talk about the impact of spirits on the economy of 1904, we probably won't get too deep into that.
Probably not.
Yeah, no. I mean, I know how much you would enjoy that, but I think
do.
I think what's cool and what we've got laid out here, in addition to a history lesson, is this idea of blending bourbon, right? Blending bourbon. You're a blender. I'm a blender. We blend. But into bourbon, we're going to blend guests from music. We're going to blend guests from the culinary world. We're going to blend a lot of other bourbon people in here, actors, musicians, and we're gonna go at this from the angle of, what's it like to put yourself out there? What's it like to blend whatever, your medium, if you're the blender of your medium, what's it like for you to do that, put yourself out there and deal with, the feedback from that and what are the challenges and we've got some, I think people are going to be shocked when we start bringing some of these people on here, and they're going to say, first of all, they're going to say, how did this guy with great hair from Omaha and this hillbilly from Kentucky get this person on their show? But secondly, wow, that's really not, that's not what I expected to hear about. I didn't, we just thought we'd get the same old cliched, how did you get your start?
Yeah.
And that's been told. We're doing something different.
Yeah. Back to what you said, I do love all those podcasts. I love all the podcasts that are out there, and I love those dialogues, the conversations. New product comes out, I get excited. I want to go get it. There's a lot of buzz about it and a lot of talk. But you're right, that's not what this forum is about. It's not your typical, let's talk about the newest release of whatever.
Now, the flip side of that is we are also going to incorporate some sample swapping, blind sample swapping that will be tasted live on here too. So
yes.
It's not what's your top 5 blah 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 blah.
Right.
But I mean, you're going to send me a sample. Actually, you've been threatening to send me a sample of Golden Sheep stuff for I don't know, 9 months, a year now. I was going to pour some today. I know that the box hadn't gotten here yet. I don't know. I got to check with FedEx. You know,
The problem with
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear
with having a product that's in high demand and being startup level is
I feel so sorry for you. I really do. That's so awful.
it's a great problem to have.
I just, if people want it so bad, I can't even send it to to friends.
Marketing allocation
I can't even
depleted.
I can't even share it.
The great news is we're blending batch 2 today, batch 2 bourbon, batch 1 rye, and fingers crossed we'll have them out on shelves late next week. So that's
So specifically, what are you sipping on right now? Is
this is so we took
you should probably be able to taste it and know. I mean, that's kind of your job.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what this is. This is delicious. So this is just it's a collaboration with a winery here in Nebraska called James Arthur Vineyards, which is this is their 25th year anniversary. And to celebrate, they dumped some 12-year-old port barrels. And they were gracious enough to provide us with those. And we took a barrel of bourbon and dumped it in one port barrel, and then a barrel of rye, dumped it in the other. And so they've been in there for going on 2 months.
Yeah.
And this is incredible. It's by far exceeded expectation.
Well, what are the odds? So I'm going to be there in 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Will you have
22 days.
Will you have killed those samples by then, or will there be a chance to taste some of the stuff?
We'll come get some fresh ones.
That's the Omaha Whiskey Festival. We're going to be right there. Where is it? Where are we going to be?
It's at the Hilton downtown. Yeah, the Omaha Whiskey Festival, September 22nd, which is a Saturday. Yeah, it's going to be great. This is the second Omaha Whiskey Festival. The first one was right at the beginning of COVID. So they have not been able to continue until now. Had a little bit of delay. It was supposed to be earlier this year, but so this one, the board has done a great job of expanding the venue. It's a huge footprint. They have 300 plus different expressions to sample. Going to be pretty exciting. Lori Hellbush heads up the Omaha Whiskey Fest board. She's a huge proponent in the community, whiskey spirit community, and so yeah, it's going to be great. Oh, and honored and flattered that you're going to come out. I know you're doing a VIP presentation of some sort.
That's a good way to describe it.
Good.
Some sort.
Gonna do some magic, and then we'll be introducing ourselves and meeting people and shaking hands and kissing babies and all the things. It's gonna be great event. I'm super excited. Omaha, super excited to have you come out.
Well, I think a couple things. I'm excited. We have some really cool stuff lined up. We've got some very interesting brands that want to come on and kind of talk our talk, for lack of a better term, talk about what it's like to get going, the challenges. I expect that we'll get a little bit deeper into each of our stories, and then we've got some amazing guests, celebrity guests that are super excited to have us send them a box of samples, and the goal is to get them to drink as many of them as early on as possible, so we can get into the real meat of it. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't know. I think that, getting to know you, talking to you, going through our stuff together. I think we got a really cool, a really cool track here, and we're on a really good path. I'm really excited to hear more about Golden Sheaf. I'm really excited to share more about 2XO. I'm really excited to talk more about, what it does look like under the curtain, behind the tent, the challenges, and I think that's what people can expect here, with some pretty interesting stories. I think we both agreed to be unfiltered in the way we talk about things here. So
and have fun. Yeah, and I'm extremely excited to get into Dixon Dedman and your experiences, and because you've done some amazing things, and you're starting out your next amazing thing. So I know a lot of people really want to hear that, get those behind the scenes stories. People have asked me about Kentucky Owl. That's for Dixon Dedman to tell that story and to tell where you're at now. And there's a lot of people chomping at the bit to hear what's going on. It's amazing. It's incredible. I'm honored to be a part of this.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like we talk about, what we're gonna do, and really, episodes about what got you where you are, what got me where I am, not how you did it, but emotionally, personally.
Gosh, yeah.
And those are going to be fun. So, I think, we've kind of laid out a framework for what we're going to do in this first episode. And I think I'm excited to get back to kind of start, dialing some of these things in. Ideas floating around, like, what do you hate the worst about the whiskey industry? What do you love the most about the whiskey industry? What, what's the craziest thing you've seen in the whiskey industry?
Right.
My favorite, I love this one. I never thought I'd see blank as a master bourbon blender. I think that, these are fun things.
Yeah.
Once we get rolling, we're going to ask people to share with us ideas.
Yeah.
Things that they want to hear about, but I know you got to get back to work over there, and so this one, episode's out. Next episode coming soon. I'm excited. I'm excited, David Mark Young. I think this is gonna be fun.
I'm excited too. Bada boom, bada bing. This is
All right.
This is crazy. This is a lot of fun.
Well,
we're gonna, I think, take the podcast scene by surprise for sure. So.
If your hair is any indication, we're already on top, brother. So until next
wearing a hat
time,
next time.
Yeah, whatever. Until next time, we'll talk soon.
We'll talk soon. Cheers, brother.